Hello, everyone. Welcome back to one more podcast. This is Priya Dialani, your host and senior editor at Analytics Insight. Did you know that around 98 data breaches have taken place since the start of 2021? Okay, so as more and more companies are experiencing crippling security breaches, the wave of compromised data is on the rise. You're already in the fourth month of 2021, and this is a staggering number. The latest one being hackers who had used high level login credentials to access and plunder Verkada vast camera network. So, data breach statistics show that hackers are highly motivated by money to acquire data, and that personal information is highly value type of data to compromise. It's also apparent that companies are still not prepared enough for breaches, even though they are becoming more commonplace. Hence, we need to call attention to how much information companies have access to and how, in order to protect such public information, organizations need an ethical approach to data governance. And for this, today with us, we have Mr. Ashwin Nayak, Vice President of Engineering at Zaloni. Hi, Ashwin, how are you doing?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you so much, Ashwin. It's a pleasure to have you with us on our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So, before we dive into the details of ethical approach of data governance, we would like to know more about your role and what exactly the company is into. So, can you tell us about Zaloni, its specialization, and the services it offers?
Sure. Zaloni, we are into DataOps platform. What we mean by that DataOps is we solve some of the complex problems related to data governance as well as data orchestration and ensure that the end-to-end data pipeline is efficient, is secure, and it's trusted so that the final output of the data asset can be leveraged by the organization for a lot of their analytics and BI use case, as well as building the data products for their consumers. So that is what we offer as a company. Our platform is Arena. It's a SaaS product that we work with a lot of our customers that are from banking, financial services, pharmaceutical, as well as other industries. And my role here in Zaloni, I'm the VP of engineering, and I'm responsible for building a secure and scalable DataOps platform for all our customers. And the other sort of the unit within our organization, we have a professional services that they take care of implementation as well as managed services of our business for any customers that need resources to operate in this sort of this platform for them, that we offer the managed services as well. So that is what those are the services that what and solution services what we offer from Zaloni.
Okay, thank you for giving such a comprehensive introduction about the company and, of course, about the platform as well. Since we're talking about data privacy and data breaches, I feel privacy, trust, and security are these three concepts that are closely intertwined with law and ethics. So, privacy, preservation, and security provisions rely on a basic concept of trust. Now, violation of privacy constitute a risk, thus a threat to security. Now, all of this is quite intertwined and can be quite complex to understand. Now, having said that, can you tell us with what mission the company was set up, and if you can also shed light on your journey since the inception of the company?
Yes, you said it right. It's the mission from the day one here at Zaloni is to provide a comprehensive data governance offering to all our customers. And data governance sort of is how it started, and now it is becoming the overall sort of an approach is what we are calling it an a discipline is a data ops. Now, when you look at the privacy and trust standpoint, uh, Zaloni's objective has been to make sure that when organizations start to look into solving the understanding as well as solving the data problem, how can we help them to do that in a secure way so that their users that are such as data engineers and data stewards are able to have a tool and make a decision around what type of data is available in the organization so that they can create that trust-based data asset to their end consumers. A lot of this comes with the maturity as well. And what we mean by maturity is a lot of organizations, they start with uh, their journey with putting the technology and people in place, but really don't consider a lot around governance aspect of it and the consumption and how to track how where the data is going to be used. And so none of those things are in the fourth thought of those companies. And in most cases, what we find is those companies that tend to either have challenges to meet certain compliance and industry requirements, and they come back and start to sort of retrofit governance in that model. And that is the unique opportunity that we saw in the industry. And as we talk to a lot of our customers, we continue to hear that. So our objective has been from the day one, how can we help them, the clients, so they can create a trusted data asset for their consumers. So with that objective, we have been in the industry for last over a decade or so. We grew up with providing this type of platform in a Hadoop-based technology, big data technology, from the very inception or very early stage of when Hadoop became a mainstream technology, and worked with a lot of our partners, such as Cloudera, and back then. And we still do a lot of our customers that are hosting Arena within their environment. And then over last several years, we transitioned from the that type of stack to a cloud-based, cloud-native stack. And we have now we can offer the governance on AWS using our cloud-native services and technology that we have implemented within our stack, within our platform. And now we are able to offer the same service, same platform capabilities for customers that are on AWS, Azure, as well as the continue to support the customers that they have the data platform within their private data center. So that has been the journey, and the complexity of the data, as well as the persona and the ask of having a trusted data set, has been continued to increase, and that hasn't slowed down. And hence we feel that we are in a very niche area to solve some of these problems for in the industry as well as for our customers.
Couldn't agree more with you, Ashwin, that while we're talking about different platforms which help in data management as well as data security, organization often tend to forget about data governance. And as easy as it sounds, it's quite difficult to implement data governance because it has its own set of challenges as well. And I would like to elaborate on the point that you said with the rise of big data. There are a lot of complex challenges that the organizations are facing, and big data analytics has actually raised a number of ethical issues, especially as companies are starting to monetize their data externally for purposes different from those for which the value was initially collected. Now, the scale and ease with which analytics can be conducted today completely changes the ethical framework. So, we can now do things that were impossible a few years ago, and existing ethical and legal frameworks cannot prescribe what we should do. So, having said that, with so much hype and controversies going around ethical framework, data governance, we would like to know: do you really feel that organizations or probably the entire society overall need ethical data collection and management?
Absolutely. This is something that, of course, the ethical data collection and management aspect of it varies significantly between industry to industry. And but at the core, the organization have the obligation or should have the obligation to make sure the purpose they collect the data is absolutely should be used for that purpose only, unless there is an explicit consent it's been taken from their consumers to use for some other purpose. So that's the reason why over last several years, some organization they collected the data, but really didn't realize how it is being used until it is being reported as in a news, and and they get into sort of other aspect of those challenges to meet those obligations. Hence, all this compliance and GDPR as well as CCPA and by state here, there are rules that's coming up. Now, when it comes to the ethical data collection, and this is something that is the organization, if they have the right sort of framework and right vision around how they should be treating the customer data, their own customer data. Now, the trust between them, the organization, and their consumers start to increase. And even though everyone sort of, we all live in this digital world, we sort of share a lot of our information digitally, but at a given point of time, I would certainly like to know how my data is being used by the services that I am consuming. So I couldn't agree more with your comment that it's just because the organism can collect doesn't mean that they should be using the data in a different way without having an explicit consent from their consumers.
Yes, I think with the changing business landscape and the humongous growth of data, organization usually face a typical challenge that they usually collect data, but sometimes they don't understand how they are supposed to use their data, and even if the data that they have collected is correct, clean and appropriate. So I guess that's the first challenge that organizations should solve and overcome, and then come towards the ethical data management aspect. Now, since many organizations are they have a mindset that they approach data governance as a set of hard and fast rules, and which are guided by data protection regulatory requirements. For example, we have European Union's General Data Protection Regulation and the
Mhm.
California Consumer Privacy Act. But unfortunately, a fixed approach to data governance is I feel is ill suited to today's rapidly changing digital environments. So data ethics also encompasses far more than privacy and security compliance. So having said that, do you feel that, or what are your views, that is it necessary that data governance should be a cornerstone of a data ethics?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, data governance, when we interact with our customers and in the sales cycle, when the prospects, we find the their data team is sort of has a lot of focus around technology and to bring in the data to do certain things, provide the tool set and data management and consumption. Hasn't really the data governance has not been a core thinking in that data maturity journey they have set to work on. So when it comes to overall data strategy for an organization, I think the fundamental question that we tend to really ask our prospect or our customer: how are you ensuring the data journey that you are set on, that you are able to provide a single pane of glass where the data is coming, how it is being, what are the business rules being applied to that, what are the data quality framework that you are considering, how are you thinking about the good data versus bad data, who's supposed to be acting on those bad data, and at the end of the day, how are you planning to use this the clean and trusted data asset for your consumers? And if something if something happens, let's say it's a data breach, or one of your consumer is asking about how the consumer's data is being used, are you able to provide that within the time frame that's set by the compliance rules? So when we ask these questions, it becomes a necessary they go back to the drawing board and start thinking about all these questions. And then I think what we are finding is it's very important for them to think through this because the number of tools as well as applications that generate the data, it's going to continue to increase. It hasn't slowed down. That's one of the reason is within a large enterprise, different departments have their own objective of signing up a different SaaS tool and which will collect the data. And at the end, towards that spectrum, when the analyst community or data science team want to use this data, now they have a multiple version of this data coming from different systems. And not having this data governance as a cornerstone, it's a challenge for them because they don't know what is my master, the true set of the data that I can offer to my consumers and consumers that are internal to the organization. So when we think about solving this data security as well as ethics of the data, we believe that data governance should be a cornerstone. That's because the fundamental aspect of how the data should be used, such as data quality, the ownership, as well as the PII or other sensitive data that's being collected, making sure that they are not being used as is for their AI and ML use cases. If they are, then that'll certainly create bias in their analysis, which creates a lot more problem downstream. So having to tokenize or mask the sensitive data, it's a critical aspect in the very early stage of the data ops and data governance journey, and making sure that there is a one master data set, what we call as a and to create the data glossary, so that each glossary can provide saying this is the definition, this is how the business and technical uses of the data, this is how the relationship works. Then a lot of not only the organization solve the compliance, security, as well as data governance aspect of it, they can also provide a lot more streamlined approach or streamlined data access to their consumers. And at that point, from a economically speaking, you don't need a huge, large data science team to do this data preparation type of work that I just talked about. Now, that team would be a lot more focused on solving the algorithm and other problems to create how to consume the data. So, economically speaking, I think there is a justification here from a resource standpoint, where this resource should be added. And from a tool set and platform standpoint, also provides a lot more streamlined approach to solve the overarching these questions that we just talked about as part of data governance. So, so we believe the data governance should be part of everyone, the large enterprises as well as small and large enterprises data maturity, data journey as a cornerstone to that journey.
That was quite insightful, Ashwin. I think you have highlighted on each and every aspect when it comes to data, starting from data collection to the ownership of data, and how we should make sure that we are taking care of confidential and sensitive data as well. Now, since we are discussing so much about data ethics and its governance, what usually organization find out is that the ethical treatment of data is an obligation as well as a benefit. So companies who are not yet exposed to stringent regulatory requirements might resist and deploying or implementing a data management strategy only based on cost. However, the reputational benefits garnered by responsibly caring for data can be used to boost market confidence. To support this, what I said, a 2020 a study conducted by Cisco found that more than 40% of companies that invested in privacy saw a return on investment of at least twice their initial spending. Now, this is quite impressive when we're talking about what the study reveals. So, I'm not sure if companies, irrespective of the size, have a proper data management strategy. But do you think that a data management strategy can help organization protect their customers' data privacy?
Absolutely. When we think about the comprehensive data management strategy, as I indicated a little bit some time back in our conversation, that a lot of this organization, they focus on technology and bringing in people and technology, but less focus on sort of process on the consumption aspect of it. And it's very interesting that we find when we ask them about what is the end goal of this journey that they're starting to work on, and it's always going to be, well, we want to use this data for BI and reporting, as well as AIML use cases. That's fantastic. That has to be one of the goal. But then we sort of ask them about the consumption and provisioning and who's supposed to get secure to what access, all that. So then that's kind of open up their mind to say, okay, now we haven't thought about that, and they start to consider or go back to the drawing board and start to make sure that they take care of those aspects of it. So when we think about data strategy, I tend to call that as a comprehensive data strategy. That should include really understanding what is the origin of the data for all the data sets coming into the organization, meaning the sourcing strategy, all the SaaS applications, internal versus the SaaS, as well as how they are being generated, who is the source system, the ownership of it, how frequently they are generated. Now, I think that's important because you got to start the subject matter experts or the data stewards of all the system that's generating the data, making sure that how this data is being used by that application, and how when that data flows from that to downstream, what are the informations available. So that is the first step. The second step that we look at in the strategy is the in transit or data at rest from a security standpoint, how organizations really look at the data security. It's not about bringing the data and dump into an AWS storage bucket or S3 or another cloud storage bucket. It is about making sure that if the cloud is part of the data strategy, then what is the architecture? What is um, the best suited architecture for that data strategy? What are the different the logical layer of the stack, including the data governance tool and data management, BI, and other tools, and what is the interaction happens. And then third area is what are when the data is touched in the platform or the data environment, as it goes from the raw data, that's the source of truth, to the subsequent steps in the data pipeline. How are they making sure that that data set is really not duplicated, but it's used in a logical fashion in a way that's created and refined and trusted, right? So there is what we tend to call that as the end zone governance, meaning the logical layer of the data set, but it's processed in it for different purpose. And then it comes down to the tool set that's really massage the data, orchestrate, and then provision and create this data glossary as well as consumption, but bringing the entire data flow into a single application so that it can be viewed in form of lineage. Now, lineage provides where the data is coming from, who's touching that, what business rules are applied, and how the data is being, as it goes to the different data zone, who has access to what, and the final sort of trusted data, how it is being used, is also being part of all the machine learning and analytics model are part of the lineage, so that it can be viewed in a one comprehensive within the application. So, and then the last one is the role-based access. As I mentioned, not everyone should get access to all. It's the simple philosophy is making sure that based on the persona, they only get access to certain component of the platform and not get a broader access. And that has to be the front and center of the very beginning of the data strategy. So I think this is when the organizations think about data strategy, all these aspects should be considered. And if it is done well, then we are finding an absolute, not only the return to their investment, but also efficiency in terms of processing the people, bringing the right talent to work on certain component of this data strategy, but also providing the confidence to their business and upper management that all the data security and compliance has been taken care of. So we really look into the broader aspect of it and help our customers in their journey through this some of the points that I just described.
Well, thank you for comprehensively describing each and aspect or the core aspects that we really need in a data management strategy. And I think organization or the business owners who would be listening to this podcast would quite benefit well with whatever aspects you have said. And again, I would also reach out to those leaders that make sure that you implement these core aspects, because this is really important and a need of the hour, taking into consideration number of security breaches that are happening around. Though we're talking about data management strategy, but one such challenge that I feel is that the legal regulation is quite slow. So it's quite unable to keep up with the rapid developments of information technology. So if you observe or notice, legal solutions are usually at least one step behind the technological
Mm-hmm.
developments. So I'm sure this one challenge probably you also must have faced when you were making a platform or developing models. So apart from that, or if you'd like to shed light on this challenge as well, are there any other challenges that the company has faced, and how have you overcome those?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges outside of compliance, legal challenges certainly get a lot of attention that we see in the organization, because I think the penalty or the is pretty high, so that's why it gets a lot of attention. The other challenges we come across is still a lot of the business users, the justification or ROI of such platform like data governance or a comprehensive data management, and that is one of the challenges that sort of they tend to create an ROI, but then upper management, they just don't think that it's good enough or it's not strategic enough for them to make a decision on this. And so that is another challenge. The third challenge that we see here is they tend to look at only the data management aspect of it, but data governance somehow it's been retrofit to that model. And until some of the conversation I mentioned earlier, we have it, and then they go back to the drawing board and start to think about more in a holistic way. And then the last one, I guess, I'm sure there are many. The last one is what we see is the provisioning. So provisioning, even if the organization solve the complex data problem, they've created a very nice data asset and a data platform. What is the end goal here? How the users would access this data? The provisioning aspect, it still is, we see it's a lot of challenge, because it's focused around the tool set connecting to that platform and pull the data, do whatever you want, that type of use case. Self-serve provisioning is a critical aspect, because we believe when you provide that with the right sort of recency and the how long the data should be refreshed and what's the purpose of it, then you have a better control, and then approval process that goes in through this. So these are all some of the challenges we have come across as we have talked to our customers as well as in the industry. And a lot of this sort of how we help them is through not only providing the strategic guidance as part of our standard offering, as more of a business review and how the platform is providing the value and so on. And that's how we build, solve some of our customers' challenges.
Well, definitely, any journey that we would be on route is incomplete without hurdles and challenges. And I believe the challenges that the company has faced, you have successfully overcome them, and making sure that you are well prepared and well equipped enough to enter into the future landscape and scenario of technological development. One last question for you, Ashwin, and that would be: what are your views of the current state of data privacy and governance, and also how do you think the future would be?
I think we are as an industry, it's certainly a lot better in terms of where things are, or today this year compared to relative to 2 years ago. And I believe a lot of that change was certainly driven by GDPR and some of the state regulation here in US. And I believe that's the right thing, because, as I said in the very beginning of the conversation, that just because the organization can collect the data doesn't mean that they should use this data outside of the core purpose or what their business is, and without an explicit consent. The I would say not necessarily unfortunate, but this one challenge that I continue to view is, unless the governance, the compliance is put on the industry and enforced to the organization, they really don't take that as a proactive steps to make sure that their consumers' data is protected. And that is the sort of only very few organizations and enterprises do that as a proactive way. And we tend to really have some of them happen to our customers, and we have a great relationship with them, because then we don't have to sell hard to them about the value. But I do believe that as we go into the next sort of journey, and with the COVID situation, the digital transformation has been front and center with this pandemic. And what that means is also the collection of the data and using other applications. It's going to continue to explode. So, which has a direct sort of impact to how organizations need to view the governance as they are bringing in all the different collecting the data as part of that digital journey. So I think this is, and also the industry is taking a broader, there is of several compliance and rules are available, but also there is each state is taking this data security privacy into their hand, and coming up with the regulations. And I think certain level of regulations is good as long as it's implemented in way. And one another challenge I tend to view is, a lot of organizations really wait until the last minute to make sure that they're compliant, and that shouldn't be the case. So I think the evolution is here to stay, and in terms of the regulations and all that. But I think each organization also have a lot of the solution and tools at their disposal for them to make a proactive and business decision of protecting their own business interest, at the same time protecting their consumers' information, and to build the trust as they are going through the digital transformation journey.
I very well like the point that you highlighted, that it's really important that organizations understand the value of data security and a data management platform, so that you don't have to, sell yourself hard or pitch in hard to make them understand the value of it. But I think one crucial role here in this entire scenario would be the role of a data ethics leader, I feel, because organizations need an active and vocal data ethics at the helm with authority to drive some ethical standards. Although many organizations have multiple people handling ethics, or data analytics leaders are there, and they can establish themselves as data ethics experts, can be done definitely. But one key task will be to encourage cross functional conversations about data and appropriate use and sharing with peers in marketing, technology, or even finance across the business. Well, thank you so much, Ashwin. It was a pleasure having you with us. It was quite insightful, and I'm sure listeners who will be listening to this podcast would definitely realize the importance of data management strategy, and of course, why data governance and data ethics also play an important role in the entire data management process. Thank you so much, Ashwin.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation, and hopefully your listeners would enjoy that too. Thank you.
Definitely. For our listeners, watch this space for more podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more such interesting videos. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you so much.